Hey everybody, welcome to the IronTrap podcast.
What's up, guys? I jumped in a little too quick there.
We are doing another podcast. As a reminder, we do these weekly now, and you can watch them on YouTube.
Yep,
You can listen to them on YouTube, and you can also listen on Spotify and
yep,
Apple Music, all that stuff.
all the places. And if there's somewhere you listen to podcasts to and you can't find us, send us an email, and the tech guy will try and figure out the best way to get it there. It may not be speedy, but I will figure it out eventually.
We'll figure it out eventually. Yes, yes. So, seems like we got some good feedback from the last podcast where we were. I saw a lot of people commenting about when's the right time to
Yeah.
sell. That seemed to strike a chord. So that's what we've been, a lot of these podcasts where we're just shooting the breeze, and we don't have someone on with us. It's kind of like, what are these? It's all, I think everybody, like, you're sitting around in your friend's garage, drinking beers, doing whatever, and you go, when would you sell that? Or
Yeah,
what,
it's also a lot of these topics just come from us being at swap meets or car shows and people just striking up conversation
Yeah.
with us. A lot of the topics come from Carlisle and Hershey when there's
Yeah.
just people coming in and out of our booths.
It's like a
Like all
common
week.
question or
Yeah.
common discussion or whatever. And so today's topic is definitely that. As far as what's going on,
Stuff.
stuff. As always, we're very busy. The mill has been consuming my life. I haven't been working on cars all that much because I've been trying to rush this summer to get the property kind of
Under control.
under control has been the best way. And that's not speaking ill about the person who owned it previously, but it had gone into some disrepair. So we finally got the property, the guy that takes care of my landscaping at the house. I got him to go over there and take care of that. Already a bunch of neighbors had mentioned to me that they were happy that it didn't look abandoned.
Yes.
The weeds were fighting with poison ivy. I currently have a bunch of, or poison oak.
I have it. Matt has it. Ryan has it. I'm sure our other friend Rich that helped
Yeah.
us the other day, he probably has it.
Yeah, so basically the whole wall that we've been working on, the one real old section of the barn that's pretty bad, we showed in the first video, all was covered with poison oak. I sprayed it and killed it, but we didn't think about, even though it was all dead, that like the rocks and the dirt that we were cleaning out had all of that, like it was laying on it. So even though it was all out, I got it pretty good. So that's great. So we've been itchy lately.
I feel bad for Rich and Ryan. They had their shirts off moving.
Yeah.
They might have got it not that great.
Yeah, so that's a bummer. But we have all that going on. We're making some progress. Our buddy Jason was over yesterday and helped me get another feed bin taken down, and you can already start seeing how much it's opening up that level.
It's so
uh,
crazy.
We went this week and got some more of those cool old blue shelves from Joe and his wife in Maryland, and we got some other shelving, or
Yeah.
another case, another old oak case, which is really cool. So just trying to search for pieces and the right things and juggle everything.
Yeah, the roof's all sealed up now too.
Yes.
When we were
huge.
coming back from Maryland, we drove through a hurricane-sized storm. It was like the town that the mill is in. There was crazy flooding everywhere,
Yeah.
and there was not a single drop of rain inside the building. So that was
Yeah, Tony
very good.
killed it.
Yeah.
Tony's a mutual friend of ours that does roofing and side job type stuff, or not even side job, just does a lot of these types of commercial type projects, and he did a great job with these. He's actually there this morning,
yeah.
working on cleaning up some different stuff. He's been sealing up the roof that's a little tricky where the big red truck sits. Just a lot of stuff that was done over the years that wasn't an issue really, but now
Is.
50, 70, 100 years later it is an issue. So yeah, that's what's going on with that. Projects and stuff we got. Project videos are just us trying to a lot of loose ends on cars that are sedan delivery is like super close to being on the road. We did a big push on it the last couple weeks, and it is really close. Columbia Rear's in it. We had a hiccup yesterday trying to do the last. We're trying to finish the video and do a test drive around the block, and all of a sudden the thing was
That video comes out tomorrow, which we still have to finish.
We still have to finish. So the video, depending how today goes, we may just shoot it standing next to it in the lift. That's a little behind the scenes for you guys.
Yes.
So we were supposed to have that on the road earlier this week, and it was just like little projects. And then yesterday it was like, all right, cool, end of the day, let's drive it. And then something happened. So
Yes.
I think we got it sorted. I think with this weather I just took an old distributor out of the bin and followed the points and put it in, and I think one of the points was at its end of its life and had some more corrosion on. I don't know, but we threw another run stand distributor in just to hopefully get it driving. So, anyways, today's topic. That's enough of that rambling. We're talking about like your someday projects. So
Yeah.
I feel like everybody has like most car people I feel like have a list in their head of whether you can. And we did a video or a podcast on like your if money was no object. We're more let's get grounded a little more. And like you have someday projects that there's like obtainable vehicles that if you came across the right one or whatever, the right opportunity presented itself, you would build or
Yeah.
restore or fix up and drive one of these. Or maybe, like we talked about before, getting it out of your system. Maybe
Yep.
there's a car on your list that you'd like to own, play with a little bit, and then, pass along.
This is more of a you might see some of these projects come to light if we continue with the channel for 30, 40 years. Some of this
Yes.
stuff might show up in a
6 months,
5 years
next week.
Yeah, who
I
knows?
don't know, but I feel like everybody's got those lists of like, it'd be kind of cool to own a this or a
Yep.
this, and why or how you would build it. So we figured we'd just kind of BS about some of that.
I know Matt's
stuff.
got a list that's probably
We had no preparation for this. It's literally going to be off the cuff. I probably I have a lot that I could
Yes.
go over. So it doesn't have to be early Ford. It could be literally anything. It could be a Japanese car. It could be a muscle car. It could be whatever.
all we have to do is look through Matt's photo like inspiration photos
Mm-hmm.
in his phone of hot rods and customs, and I'm sure there's 10 to 15 possibles.
Some of them are stuff that's like left field that's been in the back of my mind for a really
Yeah.
long time. So do you have one? You want me to start to get?
Yeah, you start.
Oh, okay.
Because I know you have a few you could. I have
I-
a couple, but Matt's probably got a lot more.
I could probably ramble a bunch off. So, one that's definitely left field. I'll start off with is a kind of like lowrider, subtle lowrider. I'm gonna say. I don't want to. I don't know if I'd want to build or own. Like some. The lowriders are incredible for attention to detail and money invested is insane. So I don't think I have it in me to build some like gold-plated suspension,
With-
gold-plated engraved
Oh,
suspension.
dude,
Yeah,
that
it's super
I will
cool.
say, Grand National Roadster Show. That is one of my favorite things. Is there's like a whole room that's just dedicated to lowriders.
Yeah.
Like I'm not super interested in them, but the detail is like
Ridiculous.
par
Yeah.
like the craziest shit you'll ever see.
Yeah, so that I've always one of the ones I've liked. I could probably name a few, but the one for whatever reason, and I'm sure I don't have a picture of it saved anymore, but a boat tail Buick Riviera. For some reason, I saw many years ago a photo of one done in like a mild. I don't even know what the term would be, but it was a mild lowrider, bellflower tips, the wire wheels, like the 100 spokes
I
or
was
whatever.
gonna
Or no,
say-
actually, it was probably like the pinner white walls with some kind of mags. I don't think it was wire wheels, the one I'm thinking of, but like heavy metal flake or metallic paint of some kind on bags or hydros.
Yeah.
It's just something like that would be really cool, real subtle, but like lay it out. It'd just be
Because
super cool.
you could even get, there is a traditional form of customs. Because 60s, 70s they were doing those
Getting into that.
cars.
Yeah, and that's probably kind of the style I'm talking about, is in that realm of that, which I think is really cool. So I've always thought there used to be one that sat in a garage, literally like a mile from Eastwood, and I used to always go and check on it. I knocked on the guy's door a couple times, and I tried to buy it when I first years ago working at Eastwood, and the guy was really old, had no interest in selling it. He wasn't rude, he was just very short, and then he died, and then they actually had an auction there. And my buddy Brooke and I both showed up there, and he was very interested in it. And there was some other car they pulled out of the back of the house or something, like a Pontiac or something. It was older, but once they got all the cars out and I saw the Riviera out in the light out of the garage, it was not nearly as good as I had hoped. And I was like, and I didn't. It didn't go for a lot. I want to say it went for like under $1,000.
Oh, wow.
But it was like kind of rusty when it got pulled out, and I'm like, at the time, I'm like, that's not.
It looked way better as a shadow and the front
Yeah.
end of the shadow in the garage.
Yeah. So that would be cool. Like I feel like they're not super expensive.
No, I don't think so.
So one of them would be kind of.
I don't know. I've never looked at the market, but as I'm editing this video, I might look at the market and go, "Whoa!"
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
this was a while ago, but again, I don't want to. If I did one of them, I probably just want to get it out of my system. I don't say it's something that like a bucket list car I'd own forever, but it would be kind of fun to build. And I'd want to start with one that was decent or nice because I want to get right to the fun stuff. I wouldn't want to have to
Yes.
like restore the car.
Floor pans and
Yeah,
rockers
I
and
want to
all
like
that
I want to
dumb
like
stuff.
scuff the car down and respray it with a metallic paint job,
Yeah.
metal or whatever, some kind of cool custom paint job, pinstriping or something, and the right wheels, and then just cruise it and be done with
Exactly.
it.
Yeah. You
So,
don't want to do all the not fun rust repair.
but some kind of lowrider, I've always there's Impalas and different stuff that look super cool. I've been fascinated with the bomb style lowriders are really really neat. And all of those cars in that niche of the hobby and the culture is super cool. And I've always kind of wanted to build something like that. But just the right car hasn't popped up. And someday one of these estates we do, there might be a really nice version of one of those cars sitting there, and they're like, we're already buying a bunch of stuff. And they're like, yeah, you know what? $3,500 you can buy
Yeah.
insert car here that would be cool. And they're like, you do it. So.
The early bomb stuff's neat too out in Cali. They're taking like not as desirable like 30s 4-door Chevys and slamming them and putting all the cool accessories on them. And
Yep.
while it is a 4-door, some of those do look
They look good like that. I mean, I
laid
think
out,
that's
yeah.
a great use for them. They look really, they're looks like a gangster car.
perfect
So-
family hauler too.
Yeah.
Throw all the kids in and go cruising.
Yeah, so I think something like that would be on my. Has been for a long time, 20 years or so. I've or more. I've been kind of looking at it. I'm like, man, that would be really cool.
Definitely.
So, do you have?
So the biggest one on my list, I always get asked. There's a nailhead that's in the warehouse next door that I've had for 4 or 5 years now. Bought it at a flea or a Moultrie swap meet down in Georgia years ago. I've been waiting for the right car, and what I've been really wanting to do is a 35.6 coupe. Really like to find a 3-window, but they've gotten pretty expensive lately. So I'd settle for a 5-window, but I'd like to find something that needs like nothing. I don't want to do
or very little. Yeah.
very little. Yeah, I don't want to have to build the car from a pile of body panels. But I'd like to put that nailhead in it, run full fendered, a little bit more of a custom look, lowered skirts, full fendered look, maybe no hood sides, hood top, and just something I can cruise around in. I need a closed car now that I have an open car. I need something to drive around in, a little bit of rainy weather.
Yeah, that'll be a totally different style build, which would
Yeah,
be
so I'm
pretty
looking
cool.
for something that hopefully doesn't need a lot of anything. They can kind of just put the engine in and maybe reshoot some panels and go.
do the
We'll
fun
s-
stuff.
Yeah, do the fun. Again, I don't have the time to be piecing a car together from body panels anymore.
Mhm.
At the current
Yeah,
moment.
yeah.
in the future, probably, but right now we have too
Yeah.
much stuff going on to be.
We'll still be doing it, but Mike
Yeah.
personally
Yes.
doesn't have it in him right now. So
Yes,
yeah, that's a. I mean, as far as early Fords and Lincoln, Mercury, all that stuff, I'm sure there's a million
yeah,
cars. But I think the one to go back into the Ford umbrella, if you will, I really like the 32, 34 maybe. Lincoln, I think it's the K model,
Yep.
the kind of high end ones. Those are super cool. There was when we went to Buffalo to get that 5-window. The
Oh,
guy
yeah.
had that museum and he had a 3-window sitting
Yeah.
there, and they're slightly bigger, even more fancy 33.4 Fords.
they flow really well.
Yeah, so like one of those would be really cool. Of that K model Lincoln stuff, but it gets really expensive when you get into some of that stuff because they were cars that were built to kind of compete with the Packards and some
They
of
were
the,
coach built, I believe.
yeah, a lot of them were coach built. So, and they're very much like some of the higher end Packards, Duesenbergs, Auburns, all that different stuff where there was like these body companies. So a lot of the ones when I started looking at them online, and one of my other cars we'll get into is I've even talked about the other one. Well, I'll just mention it, like a 37-ish
Yeah.
Packard, or even 33 Ford Packard up into that 37.8 Packard range. All of those. But every time I look at the ones I like when I see one, or one, somewhere pops up, I'm like, oh, that's like the crazy one. That's
there's a lot of zeros.
Yeah, $175,000.
Yeah.
There's one on, not a Lincoln, but there's that Packard on eBay I've had saved in our eBay watch list forever. It's like a burnt orange color, which I don't know if that's an original color.
I don't think it is.
But it's like a big convertible coupe, I think they might call it. I think it's a 39 or 37.
I think it's 37.
Might be 37. Super cool, but it's been at like
six figures for a very long time.
I should look it up. It's really, really cool. And I always just like, sometimes I'll take it off the watch list because I'm just like, what am I doing?
I'm never going to buy this. And then I'll see it'll pop back on.
Yeah, and I see it again because I start nosing around and I'm like,
I can tell when Matt's just like
I don't even have it on.
Perusing eBay for Packards because it'll come up in like items you've recently viewed. And I'll just be like 15 Packards in a row. And be like,
maybe it's sold or they took it off. I don't see it on my list anymore. Or maybe I just
removed it.
I might have removed it again. Might have been realistic. Yeah.
It's probably when you bought the mill, you probably took it off because you're like, I definitely can't afford this.
What
now.
am I doing? Yeah. I don't know if I could justify that kind of money. But yeah, they're like, recently somebody found, it popped up on Marketplace when I was in the process of buying the mill, and I couldn't move on. It was like almost the perfect one. It was a 37 Packard 3-window in West Virginia with like old
blue paint.
Oh, it was like perfect. You could tell it was a car that was probably brought from the West Coast there. It's sitting under a carport. It was very affordable. And I just literally, I was like...
I sent it to him and he's like, why are you doing this to me?
I was contemplating how I could somehow come up with the money for that, but also buy the mill. And it just was not... It was not happening. I had to be an adult. And
there was car guy math and real math happening at the same time.
It's like these two things can't happen at the same time. You
Yes.
can barely make the property is, you got to sell some stuff off.
Yeah.
We're not making the
and a left field trip to West Virginia to pick up a random Packard.
was also not in the cards. So, but yeah, some kind of there I kind of listed a couple of them, but a 37 Packard, and we've had people. I mentioned the Packard thing in videos before. I do not want your clapped out 4-door piece of shit. I'm sorry. I've had multiple people after I've said like, oh, I'd love a 37, and they're like sending me these broken in half 4-doors. I had a guy call me out of the blue or text us that a friend of a friend or a neighbor told me that we might be interested in, and after a handful of text messages, as expected, it's a 4-door.
Yep.
Not clapped out, but it was like a 4. I was like, I'm not.
I feel like those are the most. I mean, you see that with early
Most
Ford
common,
too,
yeah.
but like with Packard, it seems like a much more disproportionate
Lincoln too,
ratio. Yeah.
Yeah, so I not being rude, I don't.
It's like a Duesenberg. You don't want a 4-door Duesenberg.
Duesenberg, I would say, is otherwise because they're all really good. Pretty much any Duesenberg of the right vintage is good. It doesn't really matter the year. I wouldn't say that one, but like, and the 4-doors are worth money. 37 Packard and all those different ones are worth money. When we're talking about a car like that where I'm going to have to spend significant money, I want to get the car I want. So if I can't afford the car I want, I got enough cars. I'm not going to just randomly buy this 4-door version of it because it just doesn't have the same look of what I'm...
And we've also talked about it. The ones that you like are not the juniors, they're the seniors, right? Yeah. The V12 and...
They're usually the coach build or quite rare ones that...
I'm sure we'll get a million messages about all these flathead 6-cylinders that are in their neighborhood. Matt's got expensive taste when it comes to Packards.
I don't know why. I do know why, because those are the most beautiful cars. That's why there's so much money, because those are the ones that, they're demanding the money because they're the best ones. So that's, it makes sense, and that's, everybody kind of feels that way. That's why they're worth that much money. So it is what it is. So, do you have another one? Did I put you on the spot?
Yeah, on our last trip, we were in Minnesota with Jeff Titus, and he took us to... do you remember the name of the, is it Legacy Motors?
Legacy Motors. It's like a gentleman that buys and sells like we do, but on a much higher level.
Yeah, some very nice, does a lot of muscle car, early Ford, a little bit of everything. They had a really nice Buick wagon there that was pretty. It's a
Is it Safari or what is it called?
no, I can't
not
remember.
Safari.
It's a hard top though, so it's a
Yeah, I forget the name of what they call it, but it's it's a
58 Buick wagon. It was on hardtop on air ride with an LS, and it had a bunch of just like all of the cool accessories.
Yeah. Tina paint on it.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I'll drop a photo, and they have it for sale. It's a lot of money. I'd love to find a 50s family wagon, a GM but non Chevy, Olds or Buick would be cool because they're.
Pontiac's made. I think Pontiac might have been the Safari wagon.
It might have been, yeah, but the Buick and Olds.
Caballero, is that the?
It might have been. I'll drop it in. I can't remember what it was. It's the fancy high end model. But 58, 59 Olds and Buick are like, the wagons look so cool.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw that one, I jumped on Facebook Marketplace and I was looking around. And they're pretty affordable when they're the like lower base models.
The non-hardtop ones and stuff. Yeah.
I have my eye open now, so I've been looking on Facebook Marketplace. But again, I don't want one that's been sitting outside for
100 years.
Yeah, I really don't want to do floor pans in a wagon. That's a lot of metal.
Yeah, that's a big car. And that's
very big car. Or the roof's like all pitted and shitty.
Yeah, that's in the drip rails on those. I think they can rot in a lot of those, or in between the layers where the roof is sandwiched on. It tends to.
It's hard enough to find a roof for one of the 2-door versions of that car. I'm trying to find a whole wagon roof and then trying to replace it.
That would be crazy.
Yeah, so I've been looking around for one of those because I need a good family car to put all the kids in. And something like that, I'd probably put a more modern engine in, put air conditioning in it so you can drive the kids around and not listen to them complain about it being
hot and
10 million degrees. I can take the wife in it and she doesn't complain about that either.
Well, I think even a nostalgia engine with air conditioning, even a nailhead, you can get a nailhead with put air conditioning on if you had to. If the stock engine in it ran well, you could just retrofit it with AC and you'd be
good to go.
Yeah. So that would be a definitely a really good one.
That you might see one of those pop up someday soon. I have a search saved on. You know it's serious when you have a search saved on Marketplace.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not good.
Getting serious. That's funny. Yeah, I think another left field one for me, and I guess at Hershey I was kind of already in the zone of buying the mill, so I was being kind of reserved at Hershey last year. But one car I've wanted forever is, and this goes back to growing up in the 90s hip hop era, and I get a lot of our viewers and listeners are probably generally are skew older.
Yes.
So I apologize if you're old and grumpy and you hate hip hop. It's something that we do enjoy.
Yes.
So we grew up in an era where hip hop was coming up, and even though we're white suburban kids, we're still we're exposed to it and liked it. So for me, it was they were riding around or rapping about Mercedes, and BMWs and Beamers and all that stuff. So like thinking of, I can't remember the album now, but there is a Mercedes like SL 500 on the cover, and I should know it, but I always like those big 2-door V8 or V12 Mercedes of like, they were from like 90 or 91, maybe 92, and they made them all the way up into the mid or late 90s.
Yeah.
But they made a badass one that's like the V12, and they bring some money because they are quite collectible now. But you can get like the V8 ones for like a little less money.
What was the one was it this year at Hershey or last year?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. This year at Hershey in the car corral, there was a black one, which I want a black one, and it had had the optional hard top on it.
Yep.
And it was like fairly low miles. It was a reseller or a dealer selling it, so it was all serviced and records and blah blah blah. And it was like factory chrome wheels, pretty cool. And I was like, that was it. And it was
25.
No, it was under that. I want to say it was under 20 even.
Hey, you're right. It might have been 18.
It was like 18 or 16 or something like that. It wasn't horribly expensive for the condition it was. I thought had the 90s cell phone car phone in it, which is like so gangster, rapper, 90s rapper. So I have something about, I would love to own one of them. And even lately, I've been more like, do I even really want to settle for the V8 one? Do I want to wait and pony up and get the V12 one?
What do those go for?
50, 60, 70.
It's not terrible.
They're not, no, because when you compare it to like what we pay for junky early Fords, it's like, yeah, I could just sell a 32 Roadster and get me a cool Mercedes.
V12. I can only imagine what the service is like on one of those. It's probably...
That's the other part that scares me. I don't know if I want to get into messing with European cars in my younger years. At least I was into the stuff then, into working on them. So I would have tackled jobs on them. Now I'm like, I don't even want to mess with it. But
that's like the not fun era though too. That's like the 90s.
They can be and they can't be. I mean, but they were like Autobahn cruisers. Those things were made to cruise at 120 miles an hour. There's doing the TikTok thing. There's a guy on TikTok that has, I think it's the V12 one that's bagged with some killer wheels, and it always pops on my TikTok with him doing rolling shots, and it's black, and I'm like, that's what I want right there. That thing is badass. So like, that would be just a cool car that you could take out. Yeah. Again, when it's like Mike's saying, it has air conditioning. You can go modern speeds with it. It's it's a little sportier. It is a convertible, so you can take the hardtop off and then top down. So it's kind of like the best of all the worlds. So something like that would be pretty cool.
I'd love for you to have a car like that because you get confused all the old dudes. Roll up to a cruising, you're like, it was hot today, so I brought my car with air conditioning, and you roll in with like a 90s.
And a lot of those guys, a lot of the older guys, they got their Corvette. They'll show up in their Corvette with air conditioning or whatever, their new Camaro. And they're like, it was too hot today.
Like I brought my brand new Mercedes.
Yeah, so that's one that's been on my list for a while, and that one could be one I would buy and hold on to. I've had a bunch of Mercedes over the years when I was younger. I had a 190E that had a bunch of cool like European like sport spoiler and sport kit on it, and Euro headlights, and it was lowered and blah blah blah, and it was pretty cool. I had a big two-door, I don't remember the year, it was like 87 or 83. It was a 300, was it CD? It was a coupe turbo diesel, but it was a big two-door hardtop, and it was had rusty floors in it. And I used to, I don't know if I ever told that story, but the passenger seat, when somebody sat in it, it would lean the headrest against the B-pillar because it was so rotten that the seat would sag. So when somebody would sit in it, they'd be sitting like like crooked like this. But the driver's side was fine, so I just drove it for a while. But...
And back in the day when when we were kids, you'd show up in something like that, and she'd be like, "He drives a Mercedes."
Yeah, it's a
40-year-old Mercedes.
I guess we don't know who listens to this exactly, but it's a P magnet.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's a P magnet.
It's a P magnet. Not in the bad way. Wait, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that you get pissed on.
Yeah.
Kitty cat magnet.
So we're picking up chicks.
Yeah. So it's people. I figured that out when I was like in my teens and 20s pretty quickly. That I was like, most average people don't really know. I think it's different nowadays, but back then, people didn't really distinguish the difference between. It was still like if you had a Mercedes or a BMW, it was like, man, they didn't know that because they kind of looked the same.
Yeah, I was gonna say the look of a Mercedes from like the mid '70s to the mid '90s.
They were kind of the same.
They were kind of all the
Very
same boxy shape.
So like you'd show up in a clapped out '70s one, and they'd be like, "Oh man, that's a Mercedes, man. He drives a Mercedes." I had an Audi. I had a '92. I think it was 92, Audi V8. They only made a V8 for a short time. And it was just called the Audi V8. And it was a four-door, big land yacht. Leather interior, all the power stuff. I straight piped it, lowered it, and it was just like kick-ass. And it was all-wheel drive. Used to do all-wheel drive V8 drifting in the snow in it. It was so good. I was like, really fun. So all those cars are just like, I still think they're really cool. Like when they did those like, powerful European cars that are like big, meant to cruise on the highway,
drive the crime bosses around.
Yeah. So that's something like that would be really cool if the
definitely. Now we got the mill. it can't sit up here, but at the mill, there's enough spot you can put one of those.
Well, once we move out of the building down there,
That's for all the newer
yeah,
off-brand cars.
Yeah, I can put the other stuff down there, and go down there and drive it, And it keeps my rule that it has to be considered an antique now, which is what 15 or 20 years old. So it keeps my rule that the garages are a retirement home. That's what Kate and I argue occasionally.
That's so funny.
At places, and she goes, "Yeah, he doesn't even let me park my car in the garage," and I'm like, "Told you the same thing. This is a retirement home for cars. If you have an old enough car, you can park it in the garage. They don't let 20-something kids live in a retirement home."
It's a 55 and older community, huh?
Correct. That's what we got going here. So that's what you need to do.
That's good. We should get a sign that says IronTrap 55 and older community and put it like
car community.
Yeah, out front, right in the grass.
Yeah, that's funny.
55 and older only.
Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely one.
I remember when we went to, I think it was Moultrie the first time. Remember there was that 90s Bentley?
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Sitting in the car corral. It was unfortunately red. But Matt was like, man, one of those would be kind of cool too.
And they're like still pretty affordable because they're problematic.
Yes.
So.
I can only imagine what they're like to maintain.
Yeah, so I probably would be smart enough not to buy one.
Yeah.
Right now, but
some of those 90s, like, I wouldn't say supercars, but like the fancy cars in the 90s, electrical problems.
Oh, God.
Like everything was power, but none of the power stuff was reliable in any sense at all.
Yeah.
Did your, the fancy car with all the power options, did any of them work? The Audi?
Yeah, my Audi, pretty much everything worked. It had the heated seats, power moonroof, power windows, of course. All that stuff pretty much worked in that car. That car was a really good car. It was like high miles, so it was like it would burn oil.
Yeah.
V8 and high miles on it. Just was probably tired, but it still ran phenomenal. It just used oil, and I just topped it off with oil. I mean,
I had a bunch of friends with like 90s fancy Lexus or they had a couple of Mercedes, and you get in and you'd be like, can I adjust the seat? And be like, the power seat doesn't work. It's just there.
I'm sure I had stuff like that.
Oh,
that was definitely
leaning against the B-pillar.
I've always been pretty handy with cars, so like a lot of my European cars I bought that were like above my pay grade were stuff that needed like timing belt broken and bent valves, and I fixed it all myself and put it back on the road. So I bought it cheap, or head gasket was blown and it you needed a special tool to lock the timing gears. So I used to when I was younger, I worked at a CJ's Tire, which is like a local tire shop and garage chain in our area. My brother worked at one of them, so he kind of got me a job there. So like I used to call the local, and probably shops don't do it as much anymore, but it used to be like if you were a local shop, you could call like another shop and be like, can I borrow your specialty tool? I got one of these cars in here. So I called the one local Volkswagen, Audi, Mercedes European car shop that was like in Reading. And I was like, hey, I'm Matt from CJ Tires. I'm here working on an Audi V6, and I need the fixture for the lock the timing gears to do a timing chain or timing belt on it. And I'm like, yeah, I just got to finish this job. And they're like, oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, just we don't have anything in right now that needs that. Come by and borrow it, and then just bring it back. And I just was like, it was my personal car sitting at home, and I just like went in with my
CJ Tire shirt,
my button-up shirt on, and I was like low level there, just changing oil and tires and shit. I wasn't like doing minimal work.
But I'm sure your brother was also doing that kind of stuff.
Probably he was doing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I've always been hustling like that. So I just like showed up, acted like I knew what I was doing. I was somebody, and they're like, oh, here you go, and just drove away. No phone number, no anything. And then like a week later, I dropped the tool off, drove the wagon, and it was great. It worked out really awesome.
Yeah.
So that's something of that would be cool.
Yeah, don't be surprised if you see Matt just randomly driving a 90s European car randomly in a video.
I know. I'd love to have one. It would be nice to have, because like we said, sometimes it is nice. All the old cars are really cool, but there is sometimes where it's gonna rain like crazy, or
you just don't feel like driving your pickup truck,
or it's like insanely hot outside, and you want that's exactly it. Kate and I want to go to dinner, and she has a modern car, but like right now we have my rusty pickup truck, which drives great but looks like hell. Well, actually, Kate and I just the other week, right before we went on the trip, and I got those Meta glasses. I had to drop off some parts to our friend George, and we were doing a trade, that rear, And then she wanted to go to KOP Mall, King of Prussia Mall, which is like the second biggest mall in the United States. And we had to make this stop, so we had to drive my pickup truck. So we drove at the KOP Mall with my rusty ass beat up truck, looking like a scrapper, and parked it in the parking garage. And I'm just like, oh my god, this is hilarious. Like,
someone walked in and were like, who is walking through the parking garage? And I'm like, who is here shopping?
Yeah.
This dude's buying a gift for his wife for her birthday.
Yeah,
it has
exactly.
to be.
So that would be funny. Do you have another one?
I've always wanted to do a channeled coupe. Well, before I got the cabriolet, I was dreaming of building a 33 Ford channeled coupe. Downside is I'm very tall.
I think a 3-window you could fit in. I think there's a lot more room to slide back.
Yeah.
You're not doing like a 10-inch channel.
No.
A mile channel.
Yeah, there's we talked about it in like the museum podcast talking about building a museum. I think it's a Bluebird.
Yeah.
It's a channeled 33.4. I'd love to build a channeled coupe. It'd have to be 32 to 34 because obviously 36 they look goofy without fenders.
Yeah.
So I'd like to build something of that like 50s channeled pretty hard, not chopped.
That would be another good option for your nail head because that engine you have is all chromed out.
Yeah,
it came out of a channel 32 or 3.
So I'd like to build one. The hard part is being taller. It makes it a little bit more difficult to make everything work and be comfortable to drive. So one day I'd like to get that out of my system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be. We come across those. So. Hey, look at that! It started right up.
Fired perfect.
Yeah, that's weird. Sounds like the sedan delivery is running again.
Yeah, just need a good distributor. Now we have to. Downside to this is now we need to fix the distributor to have a good distributor for the run stand.
Yeah, I broke my rule again of taking the run stand distributor and putting it. And we tried to foolproof it by putting ugly yellow plug wires on it. Well, I was just like, just leave the distributor cap on the ground and leave the one that's on the engine with the nice red wires and put it on. And we swapped it. It's like shit. I guess
that's why we got to do
got to paint the whole distributor pink.
Pink, yeah, so you can't steal it. You know, you still steal it, you'd be over there with acetone and a Scotch pad, just scrubbing it off.
When you're that frustrated, I would put anything on just to get it fixed. But for now, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You just got to get the thing moving again. So.
But yeah, the coupe, I'd want to do something with a wild overhead valve engine, something nailhead, Hemi, something just like building a channel car. You got to do something pretty wild.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that'd be super cool. We can have
expensive.
We can have dueling 3-window, 33.4 3-window channeled cars.
I gotta wait till my kids go out of college and are out of the house before I can afford to build something like that. Kids are too expensive these days for that kind of insane hot rod.
Right. It's a good one. It's definitely a good one. Early Ford wise, I don't have a lot these days. I mean, we're very fortunate with what we do that I kind of get the pick of the litter. One that I got out of my system was the 38 convertible, which is like right next to me off camera. 38 convertible is one that I kind of got out of my system. I wanted a 38, 39, or 40 standard convertible for a while, and I really was leaning towards a 39 Deluxe. But then we found this 38 Deluxe, and I actually like it better because it's kind of quirky. Now it's kind of beat up and not the best example, but it's pretty cool. And now that I have it, I love it. The front end's super crazy looking, I never had a car before that people don't know what it is. When you like go to the gas station, going to a cruising, going anywhere, people are like, what is this? Because all the Ford emblems are mostly shaved off of it. So
I also feel like 38 standard deluxe and 39 standard are very more oddball. They're not super popular. 37s you see a lot of, 39 deluxes you see a lot of, but that 38 and 39 standard are very, I don't want to say oddball, but more uncommon for cars. And if guys get 38s, they almost all change them to 39 deluxe, like front sheet metal, because everyone likes that the best.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, so that I think there's going to be, and I've said before, like everything we do, nothing I do is like an original idea. So like I saw a couple of cars that from the West Coast that a couple guys did 38 Deluxes or 39 Standards, coupes and convertibles.
Yep.
And the way they were done, I was just like, man, that's super cool. Like I never I never considered those cars until you see them done the right way, because they are a little goofy in their stock.
Especially
form.
the convertibles with the convertible tops up, they look
Yeah.
like super frumpy and
Yeah.
old manish.
Yeah, so that...
No offense.
Yeah, so that's... even with this thing, I'm going to have to do some changing because it's the... I always mix it up. It's the Club Coupe or the...
Club convertible.
Club Convertible.
Yes.
Yeah, so because it has the back seat, I like that it has the longer deck lid on this. I like the longer deck lid better than the smaller 35.6 one that comes on the other ones, but the back seat portion of it is part of what makes the top even look more frumpy. So I'm going to have to do some rearranging with the sail panel to get it.
And there won't be any tall guys sitting in the back.
Panel. Right.
The back seat in this is more of a short guy suggestion.
I may even delete it, or I might make it even more. We have to sit under the. We'll put it on the ground so the like tulip panel like go over your head.
You can only sit back there sideways with your feet across the back seat.
But yeah. So as far as Fords go, there isn't a lot. A 35.6 Roadster or Cabriolet, I've always kind of liked them, but
the Roadsters look really good.
Yeah, but I don't have any like insane
burning desire.
Yeah, again, if I got the right one and I sold some other stuff to make room for it, maybe.
The reason I have so many early Fords is because I'm around all this.
Yeah.
And I, just being around it and seeing it all built, I'm like, I'd love to have one of those days. I'd love to have one of those one day. That was a tongue twister.
Yeah.
So it's like, I see all of it and I'm around. I'm like, man, I really want one. Matt's just like crossing the built that. Like the Roadster pickup was one of those. It's like, got it out of my system. It was cool.
But I have so many of those because like I want to do another Roadster pickup, but I want to do it more like a 50s, 60s style show rod or shop truck type combination, like full fendered.
Tailpipes up the bedsides.
Yeah, with a little chopped convertible top on it and the tonneau cover over the bed, like something like that would be really cool with a 303 Olds or something in it. Like that era is really cool. That's the fun stuff with hot rods and customs. There's so many different ways you can do the same body style that it looks and feels totally different.
Yep.
So I was trying not to mention too many of those in my list because I could go for days on that.
Exactly,
yeah. Off-brand stuff, or not off-brand, but like other stuff. Definitely one we get asked about a lot is like motorcycles.
Oh yeah.
And I've had when I was younger had like dirt bikes and different stuff, but I've never really had street bikes too much. And it's very similar to the same statement as the Packards and the Lincoln K models. Like the motorcycles I seem to be drawn to is the stuff that's very expensive. I like early stuff, 20s, 30s, maybe 40s, but really like 20s and 30s bikes I think are really cool. And that's the stuff you're getting into the same problem that you have with driving a Model T on the road. Those bikes are, in their pure form, are very hard to ride on modern roads and modern traffic. And,
I also feel like those bikes,
and they're so valuable.
Yeah, they're so valuable. You just can't.
It's hard to ride.
Justify to riding. Yeah. I've been, for whatever reason, my Instagram has been like 60s and 70s. Dudes doing like 60s, 70s choppers. I used to have motorcycles back in the start of the channel. I had, a bunch of bikes. Got rid of when I had kids, and now it's like, I can go for another motorcycle. And I'm looking at all these dudes building like 60s and 70s style choppers. It's like, it's such a bad idea.
Yeah, they're cool. I love looking at those bikes, and I think they're like people do phenomenal jobs of building them, and there's a lot of parallels with that, with the traditional
100%.
hot rodding and custom thing. But I don't have a desire to own or build one. But like the one that I like, because a lot of the ones I like are local. So a Reading Standard is a early motorcycle company that was built in Reading, the city of Reading, that's right adjacent to us. And those bikes are very sought after. They're really, really cool. They started out with like bicycles in I think the late 1800s, or maybe even mid 1800s. I'm not sure. And then they started building motorcycles, and it's like the stereotypical leather belt, flat track type motorcycle. And it also helps that the Boyertown Auto Museum or a transportation museum here in my hometown here, they've had a Reading standard on display for as long as I can remember in the current version of the museum, and I've always admired that. I've been like, oh man, that'd be so cool.
Should we talk about their barn find one too?
Yeah, they recently, right before I got on the board there, one of the board members that's friendly with stopped by or mentioned to me that they found up in the library. They were cleaning out the library, organizing the building. And I don't know if they forgot they had it. They didn't know where it came from exactly, but they pieced together like a barn find Reading standard, like in parts. I mean, there's an engine, there's a frame, there's wheels. I mean, it's basically the whole bike, but it's like somebody must have donated it years ago and they couldn't quite remember. But like, it's a whole bike, 90% of a bike that you could build. And I was like hardcore, like, hey guys, you already got nice Reading standards. You should sell me that one. You should consider selling me that one. And then, they did the right thing, obviously. They pieced the bike together and they put it on display, and it's super cool.
Yeah, they didn't sell it to some dipshit.
Unfortunately. But I would have loved to get that thing running and build it up. It would have been really cool.
I remember the message. He texted me when the guy was here. He's like, dude, they have an extra one they forgot about. I wonder if I can buy it.
Yeah. Like all good pipe dreams, my head's going
a mile, sending me photos of like different Reading standards. Like, this is cool. This one's cool.
Yeah, I would love to build this one. I'd love to build this one and build it like this. And, this style's really cool. And, so I don't think I want to jump into, like, that's another one. I don't think I want to, I definitely can't afford it.
No.
But I don't think I want to jump headfirst into, like, having a bunch of antique motorcycles. I don't think I want to do that. But I would love to have, like, one or two kick-ass needle bikes. So, like I said, like 30s motorcycles or 20s stuff would be cool. Into like the late 30s, early 40s maybe, but most of the stuff I like is like that. And the same goes with, you guys saw like I did that. I was tinkering on that Cushman for a minute, really rough Cushman.
Yeah.
But I would love to have some kind of neat little scooter to bop around in.
We got to get one of those Cushman factory three-wheelers for at the mill so we can drive it between the buildings.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah, to drive it around. Or it'd be cool to get one of those scooters for like running back and forth. Would be kind of cool.
They make those little. I wonder if you could get them tagged because they have them in like big factories. It's an enclosed little like K truck.
Probably there's some workaround, but it might be a little hard.
Yeah.
But, one of the little scooters you could get tagged.
Yeah.
So it'd be kind of cool to put a hot rod scooter together and bop back and forth. But that's the same idea with doing one of those early motorcycles. Like on early motorcycles, yes, they can go pretty fast, but generally that's the same idea as an early car where they're probably happier at 35 miles an hour or 40 miles an hour than 75. So like that would be perfect for running around our little town, running to the mill that's like 3 miles away, and I could actually take like all
back roads,
secondary roads to go there. So like that would be a good excuse, like a lot of these builds.
Yep.
Be a good excuse to have one.
I'd like to
putt around.
do a motorcycle because they're very, at the end of the day, they're very simple compared to an early Ford.
Yeah.
A lot less stuff going on, and I tinker with dirt bikes, four-wheelers, motorcycles. That'd be a fun father-son project too.
Yeah. I think that take up a lot less space.
Yes, it would. I only have a 2-car garage in my house, so I can only have multiple of these items at one time.
Yeah. So you could have a car and a bike.
Yep.
You could just put the bike in front of the car in the winter or something.
I'll have to start renting bays at the mill.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
It's gonna be full before we know it.
Be full before we know it.
Yeah.
I don't think. I definitely. I used to really want, like, there's some different, like, 70s Japanese cars that I liked. I think I'm kind of through that phase. I don't have a ton of interest. I appreciate them, but I don't think I'd want to own one.
They're so popular right now.
Yeah.
I feel like they're...
I was ahead of the curve, and now when I look at the stuff, I'm like, I don't think I could justify what they're... It's great that they're bringing good money.
Oh, 100%.
I don't think I could justify.
They were about 10 or 15 years too late to want to own one now. It's like,
and that was the stuff I was buying back then. It was the same as the European stuff where it was very affordable because it was not that desirable. I mean, I remember seeing Datsuns all over the place, and there was no big deal. You could buy a Datsun car or pickup or whatever
for under $1,000.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
But the downside to those is they were giant rust buckets.
Yeah, they were bad.
If they weren't like preserved well in a garage. They needed floorboards. They needed frame repair. Those things are they're as bad as a 30s early Ford.
I think the worst, honestly. I think the metal that they were using was a lower quality or grade than, or there was no rust protection.
And they were also unibodies, so any of the frame rails, it's like a major undertaking.
Yes. One I've been looking for that I'd like to have come to fruition sooner than later. I've actually been looking pretty regularly. With my pickup truck being rusty, the bed is rusty. I'm not going to get rid of that truck. Might put like a utility bed or something on it to replace that one, or a flatbed. I don't even know what.
Oh yeah, if anyone has a utility box that'll fit a 6 foot,
7 or whatever it is, 7 foot or 6.5 foot truck. Yeah. Let me know, because that would be much more handy these days with running to the mill and all my tools are in the back seat. It'd be cool to have that box in this.
You know, we should do that. The sedan delivery could be your mobile toolbox for the time being too. Once we start road testing it.
Yeah, I could run back and forth with all the tools in it.
Yeah.
That would be actually very...
A little harder to haul lumber in that thing, but...
You could put some stuff in it.
Yeah.
You definitely could.
The rear window rolls down, so you could put some...
Oh, yeah, that's actually a really good idea. That would be hilarious, going to Home Depot and shoving it in through the back.
Staple a flag on the back of the 2x4s to drive down the road.
I might need to do that just to do it.
I was having that exact thought. That's a good week in the life of segment.
Yeah, like, we're going to go get some lumber, some 10-foot...
We got to make sure we do it on a not insanely hot day.
Yeah.
Because that thing bakes on the inside.
But, I've been looking for doing... Because modern brand new pickup trucks are so ungodly expensive. It's having a hard time wanting to justify having that payment or buying one. So...
And even buying a bed to replace your truck is like...
They've gotten so expensive, I'm like... it was $5,000 that one guy told us?
$4,000 to $5,000 for... The hard part is black truck. Much harder to find a good bed for.
Yeah, and yes, I might be able to buy a different color, but even then, it's like, well, if I got to buy a white one for $3,000 and then scuff it and respray it, by time the materials,
And if you've ever taken a truck bed off of a used high mileage truck, it's not very fun.
Yeah, so I've been looking around for, and again, I'm kind of missing the curve on these, but like they call the fridge Ford trucks, from like the late 50s all the way up into the 70s. What's actually good is I'm actually looking for a long bed
3/4
ton truck from that era. Again, I'd like to find something dry, original paint, or good decent paint. Some age to it's okay, but I don't want something that's totally rotted out, that I could buy and do basically the same swap that we did in the big red truck. I love that swap. Was one of the best things I've done in all the stuff that we're doing, because literally just this morning I got in it, haven't driven it for ages, or at least weeks. I haven't taken it to do anything other than around the mill property for quite a while, and I had to go pick up some like 10-foot boards for the mill, and I didn't want them sticking out of my pickup truck a mile long, so I started the truck up, drove it down the highway, went and picked them up, threw them in the back, and they just, no problem. And the thing just cranks up, and it just runs.
And it runs, like last year, we didn't have fans on it last year, right?
Yeah.
And I drove it in some of the hottest weather.
Yep.
To the local scrapyard to get pallet rack, and it's like 95 degrees out. We didn't have a fan on it and all, and it stayed cool and just chugged on its way along down the road.
So I would love to if I was going to invest the money the way my brain works, even if I'm buying a $10,000-$15,000 mint pickup and I'm doing the engine swap, like if I have $20,000-$25,000 into that truck, I would like to do it for less than that. But if I had $20,000 or $25,000 in that truck, done, and it's like same as you were saying, like have AC in it.
Yep.
Again, the Cummins, you can leave the AC on it, all that stuff. And you have a truck that you can tow with because it's 3/4 ton.
Yep.
8-foot bed, so you can put stuff in the back, and you get the AC and whatever. It'll be reliable, and I can just drive it. And then it's something like if we want to tow a trailer and go further from home, it's going to do it just fine if you get the gearing.
And it opens up options for different larger trailers as well. Like we've always talked about potentially getting a larger car trailer that you can put 2 or 3 cars, like a wedge.
Yeah.
You put 2 or 3 cars on, because some of the shows that we do, we're limited with a enclosed trailer. You get a 3-car enclosed trailer. They're pretty big. You get a wedge, you wrap the cars up, you take go to Relics Riots out in Michigan, you take 2 or 3 cars, or we buy.
I'm more thinking of buying.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to take 3 cars in a trailer that far. That sounds like a pain in the ass.
But or we buy cars somewhere. We need to transport more than one. We don't have to take multiple trucks. You can hop in that thing and
so
easily transport it.
But no matter what, like a normal daily type pickup, I'd rather spend 25 grand building a cool 50s to early 70s pickup than spend $100,000 or $80,000 on a brand new pickup and then
it fucking breaks all the time.
Yeah, all the recalls and all the random stuff. And yes, don't get me wrong, when you ride in one of those trucks, it's super nice. They are very nice. But I think there is an in between where you can lightly modify and modernize an older truck, and it still feels old inside, but it you put some saddle denting, you put some air conditioning in it, and it's probably not too bad to drive.
We're used to driving across country in box trucks. They're not that great.
It's not going to be any worse than any of that.
If you've ever ridden a U-Haul for 12 hours on the highway, it's really not that fun.
Not that great. So this wouldn't be...
As long as we can get a pickup truck that has enough space that you can recline the seats more than just straight up and down, it'd be great.
So something like that would be cool. Of course, I'd love to have like a cab and a half or a double cab truck, but those things have gotten outrageously expensive, or the value has gone up on those because they're very cool, but they were also rare.
Titus just found a great one.
Yeah.
When we were in Minnesota, he's like, check out this thing I just got, and showed us a photo. Matt's like,
that's exactly what I love.
It was a quad cab, right?
Yeah, I think it was.
So good. If anyone's out in the Pacific Northwest and they know of a stash of 60s quad cabs, let us know, because they're everywhere out there. It's just
they made them. I think the fridge trucks. I think they made them. I think there was an option for those in like a double or quad cab too, or a cab and a half. So that would be really cool, because then if we go on a trip or an adventure or go to pick up stuff and we need to bring a third person with to help or whatever, they can ride in it, a normal cab.
Or even just a back seat, because a lot of times we keep some of the, better stuff in the truck, or have a spot for our camera equipment and all that stuff.
Yep.
So all these trips we do with the U-Hauls, the cab becomes overflowing with, like the last trip on Minnesota, there was a sign between us wrapped in styrofoam. There was stuff behind the seats. There was stuff on the dash. It turned into just sat in your seat and you couldn't put your arms anywhere because there's just stuff everywhere.
That's how you know it's a good trip.
Oh, 100%.
We got just the right amount of stuff when you can barely shut the door.
Yep.
And there's stuff piled in the cab that we're riding next to. That's when you know that it's a successful
100%
buying trip.
Yeah.
When it's that full. So, yeah, but one of those trucks, that's like a one that I have in my short list. That if I am always watching Marketplace when we travel, I'm always looking to find one. And like I said, when it's something I really want, that I want to be decent, I don't mind spending the money if the right one came up. And there's a couple that I've been watching on Marketplace that are pretty ideal, but with all the repairs at the mill right now, I'm spending $17,000 on a 60s Ford pickup is probably not the best idea.
That's your thing I'd have to put more money into for a diesel swap and all that stuff.
Well, a lot of the ones that are in that range, they do run and drive, and they'll have a 460 or they'll have a 302 or something like. I feel like when you get into that range, 17 grand, they're probably drive and they're probably decent, but that you're right though, because that's when I would just start buying an engine. I'd buy a trans, and with me I can't leave good enough alone, so I'd probably be straight away would be torn apart and be doing the swap and all this stuff. But
that would jump to the front of the list very fast. Yeah,
so if I could find the right one, I would, even if I bought it and had to squirrel it away for a little while and start gathering the parts, it would be cool to get. And that would be something where I would like to get all the parts together to do the stuff, and you just focus on it for a month or two, and you could kind of sort of like we did with the red truck, where we pulled it in, did the swap, did all the stuff, and then we pulled it out, and it was basically we've been just driving it since. Other than changing the radiator, it's basically, and a couple little odds and ends that happened on it, it's as we build it. So if we could do the same kind of thing with that.
I think that's the most reliable vehicle we've put together.
Knock on wood. You better knock on wood. Somewhere. Jeez. That's
I mean, if it has one problem now, But it's still better than anything we've ever built.
Yeah, true. So that's definitely that's on my short list. I would consider GM products, but like the only GM I really like is
The Apaches, right?
yeah, like the or the what were they called? What were the flare side fancy ones? I forget.
I have no idea.
I really like the Tri-5 era GMC pickups.
The hood, you can see through the hood.
Yeah, and they got the teeth and the like bullets in the grill. Like, I think that is possibly one of the most beautiful factory pickup trucks that was made. And I would love. There used to be like a garage find one that some guy in my age group had that's local to here, and he used to park it outside of his garage. And I used to always stop and be like, knock on the door, leave a note, whatever. And like, I would love to. That would be one of the ones, if I found the right one, I would consider, and that would be really cool. But again, they're pretty desirable. They're kind of hard to find, but you never know. So
you never know.
The right thing will pop up, and we'll know it when we see it.
Yep.
I've been already eyeing up. We've been at some different estates where there's actually Dodge 12-valve pickup trucks that are just sitting in the weeds or sitting at the property. And you're like, oh yeah, my dad used to drive that daily, and then he got a new Dodge truck. There's, it does run. It just is sitting there, and you're like, maybe the body's rusty, and you're like, that would be a good one to
chassis swap
and take everything off and plop it on. 4-wheel drive would be even better.
That's the big thing. We don't always need it, but some of these states we go into, you gotta drive in the backyard, or it's muddy or gross, and 4-wheel drive would make everything better.
It's a better peace of mind that when you get in a sticky situation, you can hopefully get out. And that's the good old 4-wheel drive that you can lock the hubs. And
it's all mechanical. There's no switches. You got to wait for everything to click.
Yes. So that's what I would prefer if I was to pick anything. So I think that's...
if you have any of those above vehicles we just talked about, send us an email, irontrapgarage.com.
Yeah. And hopefully they're affordable. Yes. If you want to trade if you have... I have a good trade. If you have a kick-ass pickup truck like we're just talking about, and you want to trade a 32 Roadster body...
Ooh.
I have that Roadster body we've been kind of half-heartedly trying to sell. That would be a great trade to get a pretty decent pickup, and somebody would get a 32 Roadster body or Project or Roller.
Rip to our inbox.
Yeah. Right? There's like 7,000 emails with every broken in half Ford pickup truck. I'm getting emails for like a 1992 F-150 Harley edition, and I'm like, that's like not even remotely what I said.
Pre-75 preferably.
Even 78s I think aren't too bad, but I start getting way more picky.
This comes out on Sunday. I'm going to be deleting emails all day long. I'm like, nope. No, thank you.
Yep.
Nope.
There's like a truck sitting out with a tree growing through it.
If you send us an email and we don't reply, we politely decline. I'm not gonna reply to all of them.
Politely, no, thank you.
Yes.
But that would be a cool trade up then.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, but anyways, that was a fun little bench racing dreaming.
Or if you have a high-end 37 Packard and you want to trade for a Roadster body.
Yeah, I'd probably do that.
Yeah.
I'd probably do that.
Probably actually everything on Matt's list, you'd probably trade for that Roadster body, just about.
Yeah, because that's kind of the idea. I love that Roadster body. I would sell it for decent money, but like if I could trade somehow into something that interests me even more, I'd probably also like that. Money would be better. The smart thing right now with needing to fix up a property, selling that would be way smarter. But nothing I do is exactly.
Yeah. Just got to catch them on the right day.
Catch it on the right day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So, but anyways, that's our fun little BS session. If you guys got a short list of, your someday cars that you would love to find or build, we always get some great discussion on YouTube. Join the discussion. Drop a comment down below. Maybe your top 3 someday cars, trucks. Don't have to be traditional Ford hot rods, customs. It could be anything. We'd love to hear it. It's always fun to hear what people would like to build someday if they, and again, obtainable. We're not talking about the crazy. We already did that before.
Yeah, exactly.
What's your obtainable ones that if you
for the normal working guy?
Yeah. what would it be that you would like to find? So that's all we have for this one.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening, watching. We appreciate it. We'll catch you later. See you.